Do you ever feel like teaching opportunities are not as abundant as you thought maybe they would be going through teacher training? After getting done with teacher training, you might be thinking, oh, well, yoga teachers, opportunities are everywhere, and I'll teach this person, that person, everywhere. Anyway. And then you get to it and you're like, maybe that's not the case. All right. So, my name's Ashley. Hi, I am the lovely founder and admin of this group, Yoga Sequencing and Teaching Tips. You can also find me on YouTube. Just search Ashley Hagen or Ash's Yoga, and on Instagram at Ash's Yoga. And today I'm talking about how to get more yoga workshop opportunities. So this can relate to classes, class series, workshops, or courses at yoga studios or virtually. So really, it's some tips for you that you maybe already see in the description or the caption to how to get more workshop opportunities. And if you haven't yet seen, I did launch my latest new mini course called Create a Beginner Course. Create a beginner yoga course for anyone who wants to dabble into course creation. Online, offline, series, workshop, it all applies. And primarily talking about the marketing and promotions of it because that's a big part of it. So I'm going to share with you those 4 tips. So number 1, actually a little story first, a little story. So back in the day, I taught at a studio. I taught at a studio for about 4 years. It was the main studio I taught at. And after about 2 or 3 years of teaching there, I was teaching a lot of workshops. Almost every month, I had a new workshop I wanted to present. And from beginner workshops to arm balancing workshops to, it could have been any topic. And I would have been like, I'm doing it. And I have this idea. And I remember getting a comment from another yoga teacher. I maybe overheard it or she asked me directly. I can't remember, but she said something along the lines of, why does Ashley get all the workshop opportunities? Why is she teaching all the workshops? Why can't why aren't any of us the other teachers teaching? Why does she get all of them? And the answer is, and what I'm sharing with you today, it's beyond, and it's beyond my education and experience, or it has nothing to do with my education and experience, and has everything to do with the steps that I took in order to actually put myself out there and teach workshops. And you might be in this place too, thinking, where are all these opportunities? Why is so and so teaching more than I am? I mean, I hate to compare, but sometimes we do see others going, they just got their 200-hour certification. Why are they now teaching this workshop? Why can't I? Or how can I do that too? So hopefully you're looking at that with inspiration. So the first thing is to not wait for someone else to present the opportunity. Okay? Don't wait for someone else. When I was teaching at this studio, I did not wait for the owner to come to me and say, "Hey, I have this idea. Would you be willing to teach it?" Or, "Hey, there's an opportunity to teach a beginner workshop. Do you want to do it?" Instead, the opposite happens where me as the teacher, not as the owner, I came up with an idea and I had to formulate that idea to completion before presenting it to the owner. So a lot of it is not waiting, not passively sitting back and saying, where are these opportunities that are supposed to present themselves? I mean, it might come here and there. It might be random where you get that. But to be honest, most of the opportunities come from you creating it. So you have to spark that idea and you have to come up with that thing that you want to teach or learn about so that you can teach it. So don't wait for someone else to present the opportunity, but we go a step beyond that. So sure, you have a great idea. I want to teach a beginner course. But if you were to go to a studio owner and say, "Hey, I want to do a beginner workshop." And I had this happen as I was a yoga studio owner. I would have teachers come to me and say, "I want to teach this workshop." And I go, "Okay, come up with the plan." Instead, what they did was present me with an idea and then somewhat expected me to fill in the details. But as a studio owner or someone or the place that you're hosting is not going to fill in those details. So what you need to do is gather all of the details into a package as one of the first things that you do to present this to the location, to the community center, to the corporation, to the studio owner is to gather all the details. And I actually go through the details step by step in the Creative Beginner Yoga course, not just for those who teach beginners, but I go through how do you present those details? How do you package that up? What information do you need? What do you want the price to be? What dates? What do you think as the teacher, as a leader of this workshop or series? What is your plan? And you get to come up with that. So the ball is in your court. So it's not enough just to come up with the idea for the workshop. You also have to have all the details, and not just the details. Other things that can really help is packaging up promotional photos, marketing, the marketing of it. So helping out with that, not saying you have to do the marketing, but coming up with some images. Also putting in that package a headshot of you for a potential flyer or any other details, images, photos. I always did that. So as soon as I said, I have this idea, I want to teach intro to arm balances or bent knee arm balance, bent arm balances, whatever it was, intro to arm balances, I would then put together Facebook cover photos. When we made events, I would also put in a couple other images that I thought were relevant, maybe a few images of me teaching. I would say you can use this for promoting if someone else was in charge of putting it together. Now, if you're in charge of putting it together, then it's completely on you and you'll have to be making these things anyway. So it's good to have all of those details, including some promotional materials, together right away, right? Yes. Okay. And third, that was second. So don't wait for someone else to present the opportunity. You have to come up with the idea, gather all the details into a package, and then be willing to show up without being an expert. Whether I came up with the idea or someone else did, I always raised my hand and said, yes, I want to do that. When I had the opportunity to teach at an event or at the mall or in the park or on a rooftop or a workshop, anything, I would say, I'm willing. Pick me. Let's do this. Especially as a new teacher starting out, I wanted to see where I fit. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to teach specifically, but I wanted to try it all. So I was always willing to raise my hand. And had someone even said, hey, will you teach a workshop on yoga for a healthy spine? I would have said yes. And there's this great resource out there called Google and a lot of books out there where I could have spent a week or two studying yoga for a healthy spine, not having to be an expert. I'm not a doctor, but I could come up with a workshop, a 2-hour workshop for yoga for a healthy spine, even though that is nowhere near my specialty. Or if someone were to ask me to teach a workshop for, you know, that one might be a little tricky, but let's say like Intro to Ayurveda, which is not something I've studied. I may decline that one, but I could at least do, how about a yoga for your doshas? And I could incorporate some Ayurveda into the doshas where we could talk about some of that. So it might not be a hard no. It might be a, okay, I'm not as familiar with that, but I could do this over here. We could spin it in a certain way that I still know one or two more things than my students. I know 10% more than my students. I can do that. And in order to know 10% more than your students, you really just have to read a little bit more. And if you have the basic foundations of a yoga certification or yoga practice as a teacher, then you should be good to go to teach almost anything as an introduction, because you're studying a lot more than your students. And in your classes, what you're really doing is holding space for them to learn and ask questions and go inside. So less about, here, I have this thing to give you. It's, here, I have this space to allow for questions and learning. So be willing to show up without being an expert. And the last thing I want to share with you about why I was able to get a lot more workshop opportunities and why and how you can too is to understand that selling your workshop happens before you plan it, before you teach it. A lot of us think we need to have everything ready before we actually say, hey, I want to do this thing. You should sign up. Here's the link, or here's how you pay. You can have a full sold out workshop without having anything planned. As long as you have the details set, people know what to expect, and you're in the process of gathering the information. A lot of the workshops that I taught, I would end up planning 2 or 3 days before the workshop, but it was promoted 3 or 4 weeks prior. So I didn't have all the details. Now, of course, I could repeat workshops later on, but the first time I did them, I always planned it just a few days or that week of prior to the workshop because I didn't want to let that become a procrastination by saying, well, I don't know enough, I can't do it. Instead, put the details out there. Think about the transformation that you want to provide, but you don't have to plan it until a couple days before. You don't have to have everything ready. And even if you did have everything ready, also understand that it's likely that your plan will change. I always like to see how many people were signed up, who was signed up, if I knew them, if I had a good idea. So I didn't want to plan anything way ahead of time because I didn't know exactly what to expect until a day or two before. And even then, things might change. So be okay with that and continue doing it over and over, getting lots and lots of experience. So that was my short little presentation. I hope presentation, live broadcast. I hope that that helped you to just get out of your head and know that it's okay that you don't have all the education and expertise. This question comes up a lot. Should I get a 300-hour yoga teacher training before I start or launch my business, before I plan a workshop, before I teach? And my main answer is I can answer simply, I don't have a 300-hour certification. So is it required? No. Can you get one? Sure, if it's in your goals, but your 300-hour or advanced yoga training is not going to, is not necessarily going to help you to overcome that fear of actually teaching. What it does is just gives you more education, which is good, can be good, but experience can go really far too. So don't think that you need advanced certifications in order to teach a workshop, even if it's more specific. I think everybody can teach an introduction to something. It doesn't have to be introduction to yoga. It can be an introduction to, like I said, spinal health or introduction to functional movement, something like that, which is why I created the course that I'm sharing with you is course creation or workshop creation, really how to gather all those details, how to put things together, how to outline everything, how to sell, how to promote, including email templates and things that are probably out of your head, a little overwhelming to you. I am doing my best to break it down so it's very easy. And this workshop or the course that I have, Create a Beginner Yoga course, is on sale for this month at only $97. So make sure to check it out. You get some super sweet bonuses as well that won't be there for long. And that's all I have to say. So I hope this was helpful once again. And so if you want to join in to learn how to create your own courses and workshops and to sell it before you create it, to sell and promote, that's what I teach. I am more of a yoga business coach nowadays than I am a yoga teacher trainer, but I can help with a lot of different things. It's just my passion and specialty to help with growing an audience, marketing, and promotion. To me, it's a lot of fun. To you, maybe not, but hopefully my energy will spread out onto you here and there. Hey, thanks for joining, and I will probably hop in and chat another time soon. It might be scheduled, might be impromptu like this. Who knows? Just stay tuned.